Open with congratulating my former teammate, Champ Bailey, to the College Football Hall of Fame, which he's already kind of gotten the nomination and gotten into it. But we're going to recognize him, I guess, at halftime or of the game. Yeah, during the game, I know he's going to get recognized, and he was also the Georgia-Florida Hall of Fame was there Saturday. But congrats to Champ. And what he's meant to our program and the way he represents University of Georgia is pretty awesome. So I'm happy for him. Then moving on to Tennessee, who's done a tremendous job. I got a lot of respect for Josh. Always have. Knew him as a player and now as a coach. He was at Missouri for a few years early on and had a lot of success. And moved to Tennessee and done a tremendous job. His entire staff, they've done an incredible job with all the work they've done. And our guys are excited and looking forward to a tough matchup in Sanford Stadium. I know our fan base will be loud and proud. I want to challenge our fan base to be, everybody talks about Notre Dame game, but we want it to be louder than that. We want them to be there earlier than that. We had great matchups last year here at home, and I thought they really affected the game each time we had a big matchup. So we'll need them again and need them to be ready to go.
Coach, I just wondered if you found out whether Nolan did have a separated shoulder and if his availability has been determined yet this week.
His availability has not been determined. It does not look good for availability this week. It's a pec muscle. So it's one of those deals we've done an MRI on. We're still getting some opinions on it, but he's probably doubtful for this week.
Kirby, since Josh has gotten to Tennessee, they've been very good at scoring in the first quarter and getting off to good starts. What strikes you about what has allowed them to start games so strongly and just the importance of doing that on offense on Saturday?
Yeah, they go really fast. They get a lot of at-bats in terms of possessions, and they do start fast. And, I think our team has done a really good job of growing and getting better throughout this year. And each week, including the off week, I see marked improvement, and I really want to continue to do that. We're trending in the right direction in terms of getting both offensively and defensively.
Just any quick injury updates or the prognosis for A.D. Mitchell, Amarius Mims, and Kendall Milton this week?
Not sure because I have not seen them practice. Kendall still got the quad strain that's bothering him. A.D. has the ankle, and we took him on the trip and allowed him some more recovery time, so I'll find out more today with him. And then Mims has a slight MCL that we hope he's going to be able to go, but practice, so it's hard to say.
Coach, I know for you guys would have to face a triple option every year. You kind of do stuff over the summer, maybe the bye week. Is this offense that different where you had to maybe do a little bit in the summer, do a little bit on the bye week to try and get ready because 1 week to do it's too much?
Yeah, we worked on them in the offseason, but we work on a lot of opponents in the offseason. We worked on them in the bye week, but we worked on 2 or 3 opponents in the bye week. It is a challenge to get ready for because they'll be the first to tell you they don't watch all of your tape because they some of it use, some of it they don't. They have traditional formations and traditional plays, but a lot of theirs is very different. It's very unique, and they have a plan of attack based on how you're going to play them. It's not like they haven't seen. You're not going to trick them. You're not going to show them something they hadn't seen. You got to do what you do better than what they do, and they're really good at what they do.
Coach, obviously it was last year, but I'm curious. This Tennessee team has a Heisman level trophy back, good wide receivers. It's kind of similar to what maybe Alabama had last year. Do you take anything from a game like that last year with a high-flying offense like that going into a game like this?
No comparison in terms of offenses. It's completely different.
Coach, I believe Jalen got, 20 snaps the other day. I know most of them were on third down, had some on first leg. How did he look to you? How did he come out feeling after the game, and kind of what was your take on him?
Played better than I expected. When you asked me after the game, I didn't really know. I didn't know how much effect he had. He was in on run. He was in on pass. He executed well. He held the point. He didn't feel like it bothered him. So it's really about stamina and him to hold up. And something he's been doing a lot of lately is conditioning when he hadn't been practicing. So we hope to have him in great shape, and hopefully he's able to go and be full speed.
Kirby, how did Chaz Chambliss look when you reviewed film, and were some of the other guys might have picked up some snaps with Nolan out?
Well, Robert played he played a little more number of snaps once Nolan was injured. Chaz did a nice coming in. It was great to get him back. Didn't know he would have to play that much in that role. His hamstring's still been bothering me. It bothered him a little bit the night after the game. So those that we're going to see how he does today and see how he moves around. Look to get Marvin, MJ, all those guys going. So nobody really played more because it was just Chaz and Robert really.
Coach, what was one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from Coach Dooley that you still carry with you in leading this program?
Probably the way he carries himself, such a class man. Just the humility is the big thing.
Kirby, Rodney Garner's been coaching in this league a long time, and this Tennessee defensive line's been really good, particularly against the run. What characteristics are you seeing with a line that Coach Garner has coached, and what do they do well at stopping the run?
Toughness. He's old school when it comes to striking people and playing with physical toughness. When you're playing against one of his defensive lines, they're not gonna run from contact. They're not gonna shy from contact. They're not gonna back down from a challenge. And it's not because of what they're going to do this week. It's because of the way he's molded them and the way he's coached them. He coaches tough. He coaches hard. And he hadn't changed that with the generations of players. He's always done that. Even when I was GA here, he was coaching them.
Kirby, I know comparison isn't perfect, but 2019 you played that LSU offense. Did you walk away from that just in the way to fight that is to have a good offense too, or were there some defensive tweaks that you felt like also had to be undertaken?
Well, going back to that game, it was tough because they had 5, 6 something first rounders when you coach Chase in there, and all the guys they had the quarter, and they had all these first rounders in there. And they were really talented, and they did a really good job executing. They did use some tempo. They didn't use it's not the same tree of coaching. There were some things we learned from that have helped us in the future, and we've always kept them in our package of the 3 down, different looks they had. We used 7 DBs in that game. You use different looks, and you try to give them some confusion. But there's not a lot of similarities between the two offenses, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, obviously you work on conditioning every week, but with the way Tennessee's tempo is, how much of an extra emphasis do you have on that week, knowing especially with the defensive side of the ball, to be able to play multiple snaps and also shuttle in and out of the field quickly? Yeah,
you can't. You can't get your players in shape in 1 week. If you're not in shape, then you did something wrong long before. So we've been building this week in terms of since week 1, the conditioning level of our players has been a concern every week for me. It's your concerns is, are you in enough shape? Because if you're not, you can't make it in a week. So it's one of those things we work really hard on. I don't know how much other teams condition in the country, but we do a lot because I think it's really important. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of games where we play a lot of snaps. So that goes back, if you're not playing them in the game, you better get it done during the week. And, we've worked hard at it. You're going to find out on Saturday if we're in shape or not. I can promise you that because they're going to try a lot of snaps in.
What makes Tennessee's receiver so explosive? Is it the ability to get separation successfully, or is it any other aspect?
Speed, space, scheme, talented arm. You have the best in the world and open all the time. If you don't have somebody that can get to them, they got somebody that can protect them and get them to them. They do a good job. Again, that's the challenge for us this week.
Yeah, Kirk, and just from experience, when you have your defense facing an offense like this, like 2019 LSU or last year against Alabama, how do you see a defense kind of embrace that challenge when they're facing an offense that's so highly regarded and explosive in terms of the points they put on the board?
What you mean, how you see them embrace it? You see it in meetings? Yeah. Yes. I see them embrace the challenge every week.
Kirby, you mentioned Hendon Hooker. Just what really stands out in preparing for him, and maybe how far he's even from facing him last year?
Another year experienced in the offense. He's one step ahead of where he was. To think of the reps and played since the games last year. He's He's just as elusive. He's got just probably the same talent. Those two don't improve. It's decision making process, and the guys around him are playing better too. I mean, they're playing much better across the offensive line. They're defending the ball. They got explosive playmakers playing. So they've improved around him, and he's improved.
Which I think you said, and Stetson definitely said, wasn't his best game Saturday against Tennessee. How do you, looking back on it, how do you think he performed on Saturday, and you feel like he's ready for this challenge on Saturday?
He'll get ready this week, and he did some really good things in the game. He things he did in the game, and he had some decisions that he wish he'd take back. And I don't know many quarterbacks that play games that you can't say that about. You're just trying to wipe those away, because in the game of college football, including Tennessee and every team in the country, they put a ton on the quarterback to make decisions, and we do the same with Stetson. He's not always going to make the right decision. We just got to make the right one more times.
Kirby, what are some of the big factors that go into making the call on whether to go for it, especially when it's not the most favorable distance sometimes?
Just tape study. How have they played those situations? How have we played those situations? What is our plan for those situations? What are our plays? What's the time in the half? What's the score? What's the momentum? What's our red zone defense? What's their red zone offense like? I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and ultimately you got to make a decision and affect whatever happens afterwards and roll on. We're next play mentality. If we hadn't gotten it, then we had to go out there and stop them.
With this being only the third time in SEC football history that the top two teams from the AP poll have played against each other in the regular season, is this just another conference game, or do you prepare for this a differently way?
No, I don't. We don't prepare for it any differently based on rankings, if that's what you're asking. The rankings, I don't even know the rankings were what they were. I mean, it's a big game, right? There's nothing about a number being in front of it. It would be a big game regardless, because both teams are in the East.
Coach, that being said, your team has been in this environment, this situation, a lot in recent years. Tennessee has not. Do you take that all to be an advantage for in addition to being home? I
think the home helps. I think playing on the road is always a little different, but I don't know that. I mean, they played in some big games this year. They played Alabama at home. They played some really good teams, and they played well against them. So I don't think that the playing in the big games, every game is a big game, honestly, SEC. So it's not like some guys go into it thinking of it differently. But I do think playing at home is important. That's certainly an advantage usually in our conference.
Yeah, obviously big game. Chris Smith has played in a lot of, and he's made interceptions last year against Clemson and Alabama. What has sort of allowed him to elevate himself in those types of games, in those big moments?
Experience. He's one of the few guys back there that's got a lot of experience. I mean, when you look across our secondary, there's not guys that have a ton of experience outside of this season. Kelee's got a little bit, but outside of that, played in a lot of football games, so that's allowed him to make some of the plays he's made.
Is there an update on Darius after that hit he took Saturday?
Yeah, he's dealing with a head injury and hopefully getting back, but we don't know when.
The tempo they play with, it just feels like one of those weeks where your field generals got to do a lot of recognition even without being able to look to the sideline. How do you feel like, you talked about Chris Smith, guys like Jamon have grown into those roles of being able to recognize on the fly and kind of get guys lined up right?
Yeah, it's tremendously important every week, but it's even more important at the decision-making and the process with which they with pace. They have multiple paces they use, and they can go as fast as anybody in the country. They practice it. They preach it. They do a really good job researching themselves and figuring out how they can go faster. And our job is to be able to match that tempo and match that conditioning level.
Coach, in the Missouri and Florida games, you guys lost a turnover battle but still came out on top. But it seems like this is a game where you can't afford to give this team extra possessions. Is there an extra emphasis on protecting the football and creating turnovers this week?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. I don't know that there's an extra emphasis, because I would never say that we emphasize it one week more than another. You can't not emphasize turnovers. Like, that's the emphasis. That's what we start every practice with. That's what we hang our hat on. That's what we protect our program with, is the ball. So I can't say it's extra, but it's certainly important.
Any other questions? Raise your hand.
Coach, ask you about Don Blaylock too. Did he get banged up on?
Yeah, he his back lower back spasm, but I think he'll be fine to go today. He didn't play anymore after that when he landed on that fade ball, the interception.
Kirby, how do you feel about your secondary given the unique challenges that this offense presents?
Excited to go compete. You know, I think they've gotten better every week. Grown some depth in the secondary, playing some other guys. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I mean, they're going. One thing's for sure, they're going to get the cover. They're going to find out because there's no hiding anybody when you play these guys.
Got time for 2 more questions. Anybody?
Coach, we don't evaluate every play all the time. It's looked like. How do you feel like Kelee Ringo's done? It seems like he struggled at times, and particularly in that one-on-one outside situation.
Well, when you play the position he plays, that's the only thing you notice. You know, you don't notice the 70, 80 other plays that he's in phase and he covers somebody and he does a nice job. He's done a good job this year. He's big, he's fast, he can press people. He didn't make a great play on that ball, but he made a really good play next time there and did it. And, you know, you got to bat better than 50%, and he's done that most of the year. So it's one of those. Again, I don't think Keelee's lacking in confidence. He has ability-wise as a tool set that most guys wish they had.
Last question, anyone? All right, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all.